In a village shrouded by mist and whispers, where shadows stretched long beneath the rule of a wicked queen, a quiet rebellion stirred. This is the story of Nkiruka, a woman scarred by fate, and Ogechi, the healer who wielded secrets of the earth. Together, they dared to challenge a tyrant whose darkness seeped into every corner of their lives. In the land of Umueze, a village nestled between green hills and thick forests, life had once been simple. The people farmed, fished, and sang by moonlight. But those days were gone. Queen Ifunanya, who once ruled with grace, had become a tyrant. No one knew what changed her, a sickness, a betrayal, or simply greed. But she had become a monster, cloaked in royal robes. The queen's laws grew harsher each year. First, it was double taxes on harvest, then forced labor on her endless construction projects, bridges, statues, monuments that no one cared for. But nothing compared to the children's tax. Every family had to give up their youngest child to the palace. They were never seen again. Rumors said they were trained as soldiers, or worse, used for dark rituals. Nkiruka remembered the day they came for her younger brother, Obi. The guards dragged him away, and she tried to hold on to him, her screams echoing. They struck her across the face, leaving a scar that never truly healed. That day, her parents' spirits broke. Her father rarely spoke, and her mother grew frail and sick. Obi was gone, and with him, any hope Nkiruka had of a future. Years passed. Nkiruka worked the fields alongside her fellow villagers. Every morning, she touched the scar on her cheek, a reminder of her brother and a promise to herself she would see the queen fall. But talk of rebellion was dangerous. The queen's spies were everywhere. People vanished for even a hint of disloyalty. One evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, Nkiruka walked to the riverbank to fetch water. There, she saw Akeni, a hunter known for his quick temper. He was sharpening a knife, his eyes dark with anger. "Nkiruka," he said quietly, glancing around, "you still think about him, don't you?" She nodded. "Every day." "I've had enough," Akeni said, his voice low but steady. "The queen bleeds us dry and we bow our heads. It's time to fight." "Fight?" Nkiruka whispered, fear gripping her. "They'll slaughter us. The queen's army is too strong." "They are strong because we let them be," Akeni replied, his jaw clenched. "If we rise, we can win." Nkiruka hesitated. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to think they could fight back. But fear was a heavy burden. "Who would stand with us?" she asked. "Many," Akeni said. "More than you think. Ogechi, the herbalist. Ifunanya, the farmer. They've lost loved ones too. We start small, but we grow. You're with us, aren't you?" Nkiruka stared at the rippling water. Memories of Obi's terrified face filled her mind. She nodded. "I'm with you." Over the next few weeks, they moved carefully. They met in secret, sometimes in the forest, sometimes in darkened huts. They spread word quietly, whispering to those they trusted. Most were afraid, but some joined. Ogechi brought her knowledge of herbs, making powders that could blind or burn. Ifunanya, strong and steady, trained others to fight with spears and knives. Nkiruka became a leader, her resolve hardening with each passing day. But not everyone supported them. Some feared the queen too much. Others saw betrayal as a way to gain favor with the palace. One night, a young man named Udo came to their meeting. He had lost a brother to the queen's soldiers and claimed to want revenge. Nkiruka welcomed him cautiously, but Akeni was wary. "Be careful," Akeni whispered to her afterward. "Desperation makes people unpredictable." Udo's loyalty would soon be tested. The rebels planned their first strike carefully. There was a small outpost where the queen's soldiers collected taxes and supplies. It was lightly guarded, but symbolic. A victory there would send a message that the queen was not invincible. On the night of the attack, they moved silently through the trees. Nkiruka's heart pounded as they approached. Ekene signaled, and they spread out. The guards were lazy, confident that no one would dare challenge them. That was their mistake. Ekene loosed an arrow, striking a guard. Chaos erupted. The rebels surged forward, clashing with the queen's men. Nkiruka fought with everything she had, each swing of her blade fueled by years of anger. Ogechi's powders exploded, filling the air with smoke and fire. In minutes, it was over. The rebels had won. Breathless and bloodied, Nkiruka stood over a fallen guard. "We did it," she whispered. But the victory was short-lived. One of their own, a young man named Chijioke, was missing. They found him hours later, his body broken and discarded by the roadside. A message was carved into his chest. "Rebellion is death." The queen knew. The retaliation came swiftly. Queen Ifunanya sent General Adana, a brutal enforcer known for her cruelty. Adana and her soldiers descended on villages like a storm. Homes were burned, fields salted. Those suspected of aiding the rebels were dragged into the streets and executed. Nkiruka watched from the forest, helpless, as Adana's soldiers set fire to her family's home. Her mother, too weak to run, perished in the flames. Her father disappeared, never seen again. Rage consumed Nkiruka. "This is our fault," she told Ekene, tears streaming down her face. "We brought this on them." "This is the queen's doing," Ekene said, his voice hard. "She wants us to break. We can't let her win." But many did break. Some abandoned the cause, fleeing into the wilderness or swearing loyalty to the queen. Among them was Udo. He betrayed their plans to Adana in exchange for his life. The rebels were ambushed, barely escaping with their lives. Trust was shattered. Nkiruka and Ekene confronted Udo in the dead of night. "You sold us out," Ekene hissed, his knife at Udo's throat. "I had no choice," Udo pleaded, fear in his eyes. "They would have killed me." "You chose yourself over all of us," Nkiruka said coldly. "There is no place for traitors." With a nod from her, Ekene ended it quickly. Betrayal was a wound that would not heal easily. The rebels regrouped, more determined than ever. They learned to strike and vanish, to harass the queen's soldiers without facing them directly. They sabotaged supply lines, poisoned food stores, and spread rumors of victory. Slowly, they gained support. Villages that once cowered in fear began to see hope. But Queen Ifunanya was no fool. She knew she had to crush the rebellion completely. She sent spies among the rebels, sowing distrust. She offered rewards for their capture, and many were tempted. One night, Nkiruka woke to find a dagger at her throat. A spy, planted among them, had tried to kill her. She fought him off, but the damage was done. Paranoia spread like a plague. To restore trust, Nkiruka gathered her people. "We fight for the same cause," she said. "The queen wants us divided. We cannot let her win." Her words and her willingness to lead from the front rekindled their resolve. As the years passed, the war ground on. The rebels grew bolder, striking at larger targets. They took control of key roads, cutting off the queen's supply lines. The people of Umueze began to believe that victory was possible, but the cost was high. Ekene lost a leg in battle, but continued to train new fighters. Ifunanya was captured and executed. His body was hung from the village gates as a warning. Ogechi worked day and night, treating wounds and creating new weapons. Nkiruka carried every loss like a stone in her heart. But she could not stop. She would not stop. Obi's face haunted her dreams, reminding her of why she fought. Finally, the time came for the final assault. The rebels had grown strong enough to challenge the queen directly. They planned to storm the palace, using secret tunnels that servants had revealed. It was a desperate gamble, but they had no choice: victory or death. The night was dark as they approached the palace walls. Nkiruka led the way, her scarred face set in grim determination. They slipped through the tunnels, emerging in the heart of the palace. The battle was fierce and bloody. The queen's guards fought with the ferocity of cornered animals. Ekene, limping but unbroken, fought at Nkiruka's side, cutting down any who stood in their way. Ogechi hurled her powders, filling the corridors with choking smoke. The rebels pressed forward step by step, knowing there was no turning back. As they neared the throne room, a wall of soldiers blocked their path. General Adana stood at their head, her armor gleaming, her eyes cold. She raised her sword and charged. The clash was deafening. Nkiruka and Adana met in the center, their blades ringing out. Adana was powerful. Each strike meant to kill, but Nkiruka was faster, driven by a fire that would not be extinguished. "You think you can defeat the queen?" Adana sneered between strikes. "You are nothing but insects." "We are more than you can crush," Nkiruka spat back, dodging a deadly blow. Their fight raged, blades flashing. Around them, rebels and soldiers fell. Ekene, despite his injury, fought with savage determination, his arrows finding their marks. Ogechi worked tirelessly, tending to the wounded while fending off attackers. The battle seemed endless, each second stretching into an eternity. But finally, Nkiruka found an opening. She feinted left, then struck true, her blade slicing through Adana's defenses. The general stumbled, blood pouring from her wound. "You will never win," she gasped before collapsing. With Adana fallen, the tide turned. The remaining guards faltered, their will broken. The rebels surged forward, pushing into the throne room. There, seated on her grand throne, was Queen Ifunanya. She looked smaller than Nkiruka had imagined, but her eyes blazed with fury and madness. "So you dare challenge me?" the queen hissed, rising to her feet. She clutched a long, curved blade, its edge stained with the blood of countless victims. "I have ruled for decades. I am the rightful queen." "You are a tyrant," Nkiruka said, stepping forward. "You have taken everything from us, our families, our homes, our hope. Today it ends." The queen laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You think you can kill me, girl? Many have tried. All have failed." The final confrontation began. Nkiruka lunged, her blade meeting the queen's in a clash of sparks. Ifunanya moved with surprising speed, each strike precise and deadly. The throne room erupted into chaos, rebels battling the last of the guards. The air was thick with the sounds of metal on metal, cries of pain, and the crackling of flames from overturned torches. Nkiruka fought with everything she had. She remembered Obi's face, her parents' sacrifices, the friends she had lost. Each memory gave her strength, but the queen was a formidable foe. She parried Nkiruka's strikes with ease, her face twisted in a cruel smile. "You are weak," the queen taunted, slashing at Nkiruka's arm. Blood welled up, but Nkiruka did not falter. "We are stronger than you think," Nkiruka replied, gritting her teeth. She feigned weakness, letting the queen believe she was tiring. When Ifunanya moved in for the kill, Nkiruka sidestepped and struck, her blade cutting deep into the queen's side. Ifunanya screamed, a sound of rage and pain. She lashed out wildly, but Nkiruka pressed her advantage. "This is for Obi," she whispered, driving her blade home. The queen staggered back, her hands clutching at the wound. She fell to her knees, blood pooling beneath her. "You cannot win," she gasped, her voice fading. "I am the queen." "No more," Nkiruka said, her voice steady. "Your reign ends here." With one final strike, it was over. Queen Ifunanya's body slumped to the ground. Silence fell over the throne room. The rebels, battered and bloodied, stared in disbelief. It was done. In the days that followed, the people of Umueze began to rebuild. The queen's oppressive laws were overturned. Families mourned their dead, but found hope in the promise of a better future. Nkiruka stood atop the hill overlooking the village. She touched the scar on her cheek, a reminder of the past and a promise for the future. Akena, now resting with a cane, approached. "It's over," he said quietly. "For now," Nkiruka replied, her gaze distant, "but there will always be more to fight for." He nodded. "And we will be ready." Nkiruka smiled, though it did not reach her eyes. The scars of their struggle would never fully heal, but they had carved a new path for their people. The queen was gone, but their story would live on. A story of pain, sacrifice, and the unbreakable will to be free.